opportunistic, and you're right here just really trying to grab
And then on the, brevemente en español.
3 days ago, and that he supports Trump. So no, this is an opportunistic.
I understand why people do it. They're desperate.
No, you don't
they want to live their life.
understand.
That frankly endangers the lives of people that are on the journey, even the adults, but especially the children.
Stop using them like political power.
That is Florida Senator Marco Rubio being heckled during a press availability last Friday when he was outside after touring a detention center. He joins us right now from our nation's capital. Senator Rubio, what is going on with people who are trying to not only interrupt folks like you, but at the suggestion of Maxine Waters, get up in the face of elected officials and members of the cabinet? What's going on here?
Well, first of all, this was one guy, okay, who happens to lead an organization. He's not some, everyday person. He's an activist who leads United We Dream down in Miami, and he, this place was far away, so he drove down there just to do that. So it's not like a popular uprising. It's one guy, a professional protester. And the funny thing is, the media people finally turned to him and said, "Can you be quiet so we can, finish the press conference, because we're here to get footage." The other thing is, it's kind of dumb because the center down in Homestead where I was at, almost everybody in there, I mean, 95% of the kids there are unaccompanied minors. So if we close that center, what you're saying is just put these kids out in the street.
Right.
Most of those kids spend 25 days there on average, which means the reason why they're there for 25 days is before we turn them over to somebody, a family member, whoever it might be, shouldn't we verify that that person is not a criminal, that that person is a safe home? The things you would want to do. And so if you close down that center, you're just basically saying put these kids out in the street.
I know you're working. On legislation, and the president just tweeted this out. He said House Republicans should pass the strong but fair immigration bill known as Goodlatte 2 in their afternoon vote today, even though the Dems won't let it pass in the Senate. Passage will show that we want strong borders and security, while the Democrats want open borders, which equals crime. Win. Your thoughts?
So my thoughts are threefold. The number one thing we can do to stop this is help countries like Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala defeat these gangs, okay? Because if you read these reports, I've met these people. Some gang cuts to you, it says, unless you pay us $1,000 a month, we're going to kill you and your family and close down your business. People are going to leave. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so the first thing we could do is help these countries defeat these gangs. You do that, and it stops this. That's why we don't have migrants from Costa Rica. We don't have a migratory problem from Paraguay. We don't have a migratory problem from Chile, because those countries don't have these gangs like MS-13 scouring the country. Number two is we have to send a message that we are a country where you no longer, just because you have a kid with you, are going to get to stay and be released, because that puts a premium on bringing children, but it actually turns children into a valuable commodity for traffickers to give to people, to kidnap and traffic in and so forth. And it encourages parents to bring children on a very dangerous journey. And the third thing is we have to have security. Irrespective of this border issue, we have to have security. We're a sovereign nation. So we need to do all three of those things if we're serious about bringing this under control. I would just say this: it is cruel to have a policy that encourages people to come here on a dangerous journey with children. And that's what our current policy for years has done. That is cruel, and we need to end it.
Senator, I know you're one of the people who's really worried about the theft of our technology thanks to China. They want to get to #1 by 2025, but they don't want to earn it. They want to steal it. So the president wants to crack down on technology and how they purchase and what would be going to be available. And now today in the Wall Street Journal, he seems to be backtracking, calling the additional crackdown a leak that might not be true. You talked to the president. What's he prepared to do against China?
Well, I think this president is the only president that's been willing to confront China for what it is. For too long around here, both Republicans and Democrats haven't wanted to do it. And I think this is our last chance to get it right. We have to have a proper balance with them. What they are trying to do is they are trying to have a high-tech world that they dominate. And the way they're going to get there is by stealing our stuff, or basically by buying up these small American companies in key sectors. We can't allow that to continue. We've got to confront that now. If we don't do it now, it's going to be too late in 5 years. And then we're all going to live in a world in which the Chinese dominate the technology that we need to defend ourselves and to fuel an economy. We cannot let that happen. So I hope the Wall Street Journal report is not true and the president comes out with those regulations. I already filed a bill that does what the president's going to do by regulation. And that's what we need to do, and I really, really hope he's not backing down. I hope he does it.
And I hear Democrats are behind you. Senator Schumer has spoken out in favor of this, in general, the crackdown. Could you actually get Democrats on the same page as you?
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things about this issue. With all the fighting going on in America, the one thing I think has bipartisan support is the fact that we have to confront China. You know who our biggest opponents are? The CEOs of multinational corporations who don't really care in many cases about American national security or where America is going to be in 10 years. They just want access to 1.3 billion customers in China. And they are in favor of anything that allows them access to those customers over the next few years so they can show strong profits and get their bonus. And they come back to D.C. and they lobby against us and in favor of China.
Tell us their names. Tell us their names, because that's not our national interest.
It's all the big companies. It's all, look, Apple goes around the world talking about privacy. Apple turned the cloud in China over to the Chinese government. But in America, they won't even help the FBI or law enforcement get into the phone of a criminal to see who that criminal was conspiring with. So these are the kinds of things that we need to be talking about, the sort of hypocrisy.
Okay. Thank you very much, Marco Rubio, joining us live from the Russell Rotunda, telling us about what he's got in store for all of that. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.